This is KUGAN CASSIUS for Apple TV in association with Macklin in Marbella. Press conference for Martin versus Joshua. So easy to say Joshua versus Martin.
No, it should be Martin versus Joshua.
No,
he's a heavyweight champion of the world, and he deserves to be Martin Joshua. And I want Joshua, and I know AJ will have it, to have that underdog mentality going into his fight.
I said to Anthony Joshua just now, I said, money aside, why does Charles Martin pick his first defence of his IBF crown? Travel over here, never travelled here before. Why does he come and fight Anthony Joshua? And he was kind of like, why did you say money aside? But just taking out that element, do you understand what I'm saying? Why did he decide to do that?
Because he probably thinks he can beat him. And when he's talking about the other guys in the mix, and he's talking about going in with Wilder, he's talking about going in with Ariola, he's talking about going in with Briswaley and earning a quarter of what he's probably going to earn for this fight, he probably says, this is the one I want. I want the big names, I want the big fights. Anthony Joshua is already one of the biggest names in heavyweight boxing, so when you look at the guys that are available, Klitschko and Fury are tied up, Wilder it looks like will fight Povetkin. That's everybody, you know, the main guys, and who's next? Who's the biggest star out there?
He says he wants to make a statement. He says by coming over here, by beating someone like Anthony Joshua, Olympic gold medalist, branded him a hype job, you know, he knows what people in England think about Anthony Joshua, putting him on this pedestal, in his words, and he's coming over here to derail this hype job in his world.
Of course he is. He talks great, he's going to sell the fight very well, he's believable, and I believe he believes it. He's dangerous, he has power in both hands, he's a great counter puncher. If you make a mistake, he'll punish you. But I think Anthony just has too much. I think he's too bright as a fighter, I think he's going to be disciplined. I think he's going to have fast hands. I think he punches extremely hard. It's not going 12 rounds. It probably won't go 6 rounds. Because like Charles Martin said yesterday, if it goes 12 rounds, they're doing something wrong. I've seen the size of them.
Absolutely. Southpaw heavyweight's a rarity. How do you think he'll cope with a Southpaw heavyweight?
The last time he boxed a Southpaw was Camilleri in the Olympic final. Right. So hasn't boxed one as a pro. We've already got 3 or 4 guys flown over, top Southpaw sparring. It's going to be a challenge, something different. He's smart, you know, he absorbs things, he knows what he needs to do. We all know that probably the best tool against a southpaw is a straight right hand down the pipe, and that's probably his best shot. So, you know, listen, it's one of them. I honestly see it as a 50-50 fight. And I've tweeted that, and everyone says, oh, Joshua's 7-1 on. Joshua would be 3-1 on to beat Muhammad Ali at the moment. That's how the bookies see it. Like I said to you the other day, he's favourite against Hay, he's favourite against Fury. It's not me saying it, look at the odds. But that's not reality. The reality is it's 2 unbeaten heavyweights who can punch, relatively untested, although Joshua has now been tested and Charles Martin hasn't. So, you know.
Has the fight with Dillian Whyte got any, I don't know, thinking behind why Charles Martin?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, look, it's easy for me to say that wasn't Anthony Joshua in that fight, but he didn't follow instructions, he didn't box to a plan, he just went in there to try and hurt Dillian Whyte. And listen, he got caught with a huge left hook coming in, a left hook that would have knocked, I believe, most heavyweights out. He rode the shot, stumbled for 2 or 3 seconds, composed himself, went again and closed the show late on. Showed a lot of positives in that fight, but did show some negatives. But it's become a little bit easier to match him now because of that performance. But there's still heavyweights out there that call his name that have no intention of fighting him. Charles Martin was different. He said the words, we made the call, and it was real. And that's how we got the deal done. All these other people, I'll fight him, I would fight him, you know. All right then, here's the money. Oh, maybe next. I'll have one more and then, you know.
Who needed more convincing for this fight? You, Joshua, or his team?
Certainly not Joshua. That was, you know, I'm, like I said, I've got it in my phone, you know.
Let's roll,
you know. And that was something that, you know, I will keep in here for a long, long time. Because when this fight arose, and I knew it was reality, I really knew that Anthony Joshua could beat Charles Martin. Don't get me wrong, he can lose to Charles Martin. And I hope the team would feel the same way. So when I texted him and said, listen, I said, I can make this Martin fight. And I said, what are you thinking? And he said, let's roll. And I said, exactly what I was thinking.
You've got 45 chats going on, by the way.
Yeah, but that wasn't just the end of it. It was sitting down with the trainers, thinking it through, looking at the strategy. Where do we go from here? When would the mandatory be due? Who would the mandatory be? Weighed everything up. But I said to them, everything aside, can Anthony beat Charles Martin? If he can, he becomes heavyweight champion of the world. You have to take this fight. And Anthony should be applauded because there's a lot of people that wouldn't have taken the fight.
Do you sit there and think about what happens if things don't go to plan?
Of course, I do for every fighter that's ever in a fight. Any fighter that's in any kind of risk fight, I have to plan for the downside. And I plan for the downside for this. Will the support still be there from the country? Yes. Will the support still be there from the broadcaster? Yes. He's still British and Commonwealth champion. Can we rebuild? Yes. But can we afford to let an opportunity like this slip? We might regret it for the rest of our life. And let's look at the strategy. If you don't take this fight, we're going to get called into a final eliminator against Takan or Parker or, I don't know, we might get a WBC shot against Povetkin. If we win a tough final eliminator, we become 75-25 as a mandatory. Well, we can have Charles Martin, who is probably the same kind of fight as Takan and Parker and these guys, and we can fight him now for the heavyweight championship of the world. And you fight who you want in summer, in October, in November. Look at the fights out there.
I believe Tyson Fury's backing Charles Martin for this fight.
Yeah. Oh, I think they're desperate. They're desperate for Anthony Joshua. There are so many people that would love, in boxing, that would love to see Anthony Joshua lose this fight. They might not tell you it, but I know.
I know as well, actually.
Yeah, because he blows the whole sport of boxing wide open with a victory on April 9th. And he becomes the biggest star in world boxing with victory on April 9th. And there'll be people going, oh, it's Hearn talking bollocks again. Mate, did you see the cameras here today? The face-off?
Of course, I was here, bro.
Right, mate.
How are you?
All right, yeah, good. Thank you.
Can you give us some news on the undercard? Obviously, we know.
Yeah, we were in a situation where Joshua was going to fight Jennings, one of these guys, with 7 or 8 championship fights on the card. There'll probably be 5 now. We got so many fighters that want to be on the bill, and we're sorting it out now. There'll be announcements next week. Macklin v Rose, world title eliminator at middleweight is done. It's a great domestic fight. That'll be on the card.
For what belt?
Middleweight, WBC.
WBC.
Yeah. So
not a final, just an
eliminator. But it's a great fight, and it's a crossroads fight.
Yeah.
You know, basically the loser is probably done. But it'll be a war. Great styles make fights, and that's great style. Yeah, talk of Selby, DeGale, Groves, Eubank. You know,
Eubank could possibly be on it.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty going on, but loads.
Will we see another world title fight on the bill?
Yes, I believe so. James McDonnell is likely to be on. And like I said, Selby, DeGale. It's Ricky Burns. I think, and I know we always get questions from our Scottish friends, but we're on the verge of coming back to Scotland and doing something. So I don't want to say too much at the moment, but if we don't, Ricky will box on April 9th. But there is a very good chance we could be returning to Scotland end of April, early May.
Somebody had a pop at me. I asked about Scotland, then asked about Wales.
Everyone, I mean, look, the problem is with Wales is you've got an arena there that holds 4,000. James DeGale and Lee Selby, when they signed up with Al Heyman, it was my understanding that the majority of fights would be in America. So I'm trying to factor them in and work them into the schedule in the UK, and it's not easy. But they need to fight here. This is where it's at. Everyone sees the bright lights and LA. The reality is this is the strongest market for them. And what we can do for those guys versus what America can do for those guys is on another level. But
is it the possibility that we'll see either DeGale or Selby rather than both of them?
I don't think it'll be both of them on the card. No.
More likely to be which one?
Selby, probably. I mean, I think I'd like to do DeGale as a standalone in May. He wants to box before May.
I think it's Pulkey.
Yeah, Chunky v Pulkey. Selby Hunter's a really good fight. I'd like to do that in Wales as well, but it's just can't do everything. So But you know, they both want to fight ASAP. You know, Selby hasn't boxed since October. James hasn't boxed since November. You know, we're nearly in March. So.
All right, Eddie, thanks for talking to iFoot TV. Between now and April 9th, I refuse to have a sole interview about pay-per-view with you.
I don't think. I mean,
no, I'm just saying I'm not going to.
I think, look, you got Frampton Quigg. No one's really complained about because it's Frampton Quigg, and Joshua fighting for the world heavyweight title. I haven't had one complaint about it yet, so it's
I'm
quite
just saying
refreshing.
there won't be an interview. I'm not
good.
going through
Thank
this
you.
again
Good,
with you.
good.
It's emotional.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Ed.